actually 4 different kinds of T endings. Well, we should say there's 4 different variations of a T depending on where it is. And usually that's more about the end of the word, or if it's in the middle or at the beginning, or actually what's after it. So for example, if you look at these words, I forgot to start my camera. So if you look at these words over here, you can see, for example, the NT ending that we use all the time, right? That's going to be a whole thing. And then you have a T, for example, with like an R after it. You have a T with a vowel after it, right? And that's going to change things, whether there's a consonant after it, where it falls inside the word. So we're going to talk about how T's can sound different. There's 4 different variations. And most importantly, in my opinion, it's going to be about the top 5 words, 4 sounds, 5 words where the NT combination or cluster is in that word. Not at the end of the word, that's going to be the next group of words that I go over. But if it's in the beginning or it's in the middle, right, that NT, I'm kind of treating it all as its own. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, and I welcome all of your guys' comments. If you have any comments, if you're watching this live, then go ahead and put those comments right in there and I'll answer this kind of as like I'll pause and I'll do a little Q&A. So we're going to talk about the top 5 words, and you're going to notice something kind of funny about them maybe, right? You're going to see that they have numbers up there, and if you notice that, that's cool. Keep hanging on to that idea. You're going to say, it'll make sense afterwards, right? If it doesn't already, if you haven't seen one of these before, then it'll totally make sense. But they've got numbers and they're not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this NT, look at how I've got the word here as we write it, and then I've got something else here. If you're new to my style of teaching, you're going to notice I use what's called IPA a lot, which is International Phonetic Alphabet, and you don't have to learn all the symbols or anything like that if you don't want to, but when you see something kind of frequently and it keeps popping up, you might think, that's something I should pay attention to. Let me pick up that one symbol here. And this symbol is interesting and useful. So this kind of looks to me like a question mark without the dot, and that's really important because it's going to be that T variation that we get when it's NT combined very often, not all the time. So think about it as like a little add-on that we use to show negativity. I'm sure you already know it, but that's how I want you to think about it. And it has a name, actually. It's not a whole word by itself anymore. It's not N-O-T, but it is still one syllable, even though we don't see a vowel and we don't say a vowel. That's going to happen twice today. And what we're going to do, let me grab my assistant, let's say, the big mouth. If you haven't seen this before, this is like one of those dentist mouths. And so how am I gonna do this? I'm gonna put my tongue tip on the ridge, and I'm gonna let the air out, and then let it out my nose, and then I'm gonna close what's called my glottis. So don't worry about that. I'm gonna describe that a little more in depth in just a second. But that's how I do the NT. But it's not nt. It's nt. Don't worry about that. I'm gonna describe that. I'll talk about that in a quick second. Let's go over that a little bit more in depth in this case, and I'll put my little assistant away for now. Then let's back up and talk about how do I articulate the N and the T, at least in its, let's say, regular T form, right? So N as in no, right? It has a name. T as in Tuesday. And when I say it has a name, I mean the sound has a name. I'm not really going to refer to the letter that often. So I'm going to zoom in on this in just a second. This is all the consonants in English, and we can put them on a chart, and we can chart them based on what part of my mouth or my structures I'm using, and then also what I do with the air on the side. Right, so let's zoom in a little bit. That N, it's what we call alveolar, and the alveolar ridge is right here. It's that bump behind your teeth. Right there. So that's your bump or your ridge. You'll hear me call it alveolar. It's the kind of sound. Any sound that's made on or near the bump, we call it an alveolar sound. And also, this is a nasal. N is a nasal, which you're like, N, nasal, makes sense. We have 3 nasals in English, which is not the problem. Most people nasalize other sounds, meaning what? Meaning they put air in their nose, nasal cavity, when they shouldn't, right? So there's 3 sounds where the air should come out your nose. All the rest, they should come out your mouth. The problem there is a lot of people put sounds out their nose when they shouldn't be. So that's how we describe an N, that's where it sits on the chart. Now what about a T, right? It's a little small, I'm gonna zoom in. The T is also alveolar. So alveolar, so it's gonna be on the ridge as well, but it's not a nasal. So I need the air to go not only out my mouth, but also I need to stop the air, right? I need to stop the air and then let it go. It's a stop sound. You can also call it a plosive because it kind of explodes, right? And you might notice this T and D, they're in the same box there. If you do notice that, that's the difference between what we call unvoiced sounds and voiced, meaning right here it vibrates or it doesn't. So you shouldn't feel any vibration. If I make a D sound like dog, duh, 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 ah, I'm voicing that as I let the air out, right? So that would be the difference. If two symbols occupy the same box, that's the difference. And there's the thing that we talked about a moment ago, which is like, it's a T sound, but it's not a T sound. If you have like a little nibbling or cousin in your family, and you're playing with the keys with the baby, and you're like, oh no, I dropped the keys. You say, have like a little nibbling or cousin in your family. Stop thing that you do, that's happening in your glottis, so it's called a glottal stop. And remember that symbol we said that's like a question mark without the dot, that's the glottal stop. So it's a very important sound. I think it's very useful to know because often it comes with this T sound when it's a final T, and especially when it's an NT combination. So really useful sound. And I'm gonna zoom in on that too. Actually, let me zoom back out. Let me zoom back out to the chart because look, this chart is pretty big. And we did a stop, the T's were in the middle, the glottal is all the way at the end. That's why when I zoom in, I kind of like left a space there because I didn't want all that stuff in the middle. So it's a stop sound. I'm stopping the air. Where am I stopping it? Not on the ridge, but in the back in the glottis. You'll feel it kind of tighten up. Think about when you say, oh, where am I stopping? Right there. That's it. You probably do it. I think most languages have that little like exclamation that they do. So you should already have it down pat. You just didn't know maybe the name for it and probably not the symbol for it. So that's going to be useful. All right, let's get into the words now. We saw our participle, tongue on the ridge, then from uh-oh. All right, let's get into the words now. We saw our participle, shouldn't, couldn't, wouldn't, right? So that specific combination as the negative at the end of something, that's what it's going to sound like. But notice this NT, now it's in the middle, and I've got a consonant after it. I've got an R sound as well. So let's go through this, from top to bottom. Like I like to start with how many syllables there are because there's a musicality to it. So there's 2 syllables in this word. The first one is stressed, so it's da-da. And if we think about the vowels, I've got we've got 3 center vowels. This one is the as in umbrella, right? My tongue is in the middle, that's why it's a center vowel. Country. E. Notice I'm smiling. E. Almost no space in my jaw. Country. Oops. The and the I sound, right? I. There we go. The joys of being live, my slides are there. And actually, let me just see if there's any questions while I'm paused here. No, nothing yet, so perfect. So, and E, country. For those consonants, we've got that K sound. My tongue is going to go in the back. And then I've got a cluster of 3. I've got my N and my T, so I already know. My tongue is going to go in the back. But I'm going to pull my tongue back for the R. I'm going to curl the tip. Let me do it this side. Tree. So if I take my mouth here, it's on the bump, and then I'm going to curl the tip back, right? So it's it's on the bumps. And then E at the end. Country. Why is this the first one? Well, second one on our list. It's number 172. So of all the words in English, that you say. This is the 172nd most common word, so it's super important. You might not say it every day, but you'll probably say it every 1 to 3 days, right? So next time it comes up, you're like, oh yeah, I just said it, didn't I? We don't even notice often, like how often we say these words. This one, you know, it's something that I know that I use all the time. Very interestingly, this has 2 syllables, and the second one is the one that's stressed, right? We see that again, that as an umbrella. My tongue is in the middle, jaw partly open, this has 2 syllables, and the second one is the, and then I've got that, what we call short I. A second ago we said E. Now I want to relax my lips, open my jaw just a little more, and then I've got that, so it's a second ago we said Feel how my jaw is probably not moving, but my tongue is going from middle to forward. Until. Really, I should be saying the second syllable stressed. Until. Notice my pitch is going higher. I'm holding it a bit longer. So I've got my 2 vowels, right? And then here's something you will not see in the dictionary. And it's not a cat hair on my nose, but it's an L at the end of a word or at the end of a syllable. It's what we call a dark L. Most dictionaries don't write the symbol for that because it's just a little too specific for them. It's too narrow in its transcription. But this L with a little tilde in the middle, that's called a dark L. And since we're talking today about that glottal stop sound, which is way back in the throat, also the K is about as far back as you can go. Since we're on the subject, I said let's talk about dark L's. That means that this L is in the back of your throat. Also the K is about as far back as you can go. Until. So I've got my I've got my NT combination. Because there's a vowel next, I'm gonna really release that T. Let me get the mouth again. So I've got my NT combination. Because there's a vowel next, I'm gonna really release that T. Till. By the way, that short I, my tongue should be down at the bottom teeth. Maybe doesn't feel like it because my jaw is so tight, but until the next word. Here we go. Looking good so far. I want to explain, kind of back up a little bit and talk about why I'm doing things the way I'm doing them. In my experience, which has been years now, is my methodology has kind of grown, and it's not random, right? How we learn something, how we do one thing is how we do anything. So how we learn one word is how we should apply learning it with the rest of the words, or how we apply learning. How should I say it? Our method behind this, if it's repeatable, then you're going to be more successful. So what I'm trying to say is follow this methodology. Don't be random, right? You want to build upon these layers. Then you're going to be more successful. So what is the methodology? We've already gone through it. I didn't say it explicitly. Syllables are always first because that's the music behind the word. Vowels are always next because in English at least we write 5 vowels, but we say about over 20. So it's really important to get those vowels. That's going to be the difference between, let's say, present and past, or 2 different words. It's often that vowel that we hear first in English because we're differentiating it. And then I do consonants last. Yes, there's some consonants where like we don't have them in English that you might have, or vice versa. But what I want to do is say, let's focus on the most important things where there could be the most mistakes made, then the details. And the details are really the consonants, right? You'll hear variations, but worry most about the syllables and the vowels, right? So a lot of people say, I want to speak faster. Yeah, me too. I'm from the Northeast. We speak pretty fast in English, and when I'm speaking in French or Spanish or Arabic, like I want to feel like myself. I want to go at that speed. But I need to train my muscles, and in order to do that, I want to do the exercise very slowly. Like if you go to the gym, right, going like, that doesn't work, doesn't last long term. So you want to go like nice and slow to develop the muscle fibers, to develop that automaticity, and then once you go smooth, then you can go as fast as you want. So make sure to follow those things every single time, no matter which one of my videos that you're watching. All right, now what do we see? Keep going. We've got, how funny, we're going to continue this little coaching session, or I should say mini lesson, with three syllables now, right? Can you guess? You can see it now, but maybe I want you to start noticing this little mark where the stressed syllable is. That's what it looks like in the dictionary. Sometimes it's bolded too. I prefer this style with the little mark on top. And so we have, made a mistake. That's three syllables. Three syllables. Second one is stressed though. And for our vowels, we've got, here's the number one vowel you need to know. It's called a schwa. And if you haven't noticed, it's already in my logo. It's kind of like a rotated E, little lowercase e. And the name is schwa. It has a name because it can be any vowel or it can be no vowel. So it's not like A, E, I, O, U. Schwa, schwa, schwa. Most important sound you're going to learn or need to know in English. Next in our word, we've got that short I again. Remember, relax your lips. So I've got, remember the umbrella sound? Go back to that. My jaw is a little more open than schwa. My tongue is in the middle. So I'm almost there. I'm just going to close my jaw a little bit. Umbrella, schwa. My tongue is in the middle. I want right now. That's our schwa. Put my tongue forward. Now we call it long U, which most languages have. Round my lips, but put my tongue in the back. Ooh. Ooh, feel that tongue in the back. Ooh, continue. Ooh, vowels, vowels, vowels. I want you to echo those vowels. And then we have this thing, we call it a semi-vowel. I don't see it in the spelling, right? A lot of people, they don't see that Y, so a lot of times, like community, they don't see the Y, so they don't know that there's a Y in there, right? Y is a semi-vowel. It's kind of on the fence between consonants and vowels. Lots of fun. So we've got our consonants now. We've done that K, it's in the back. K, k. We've done that N, right? It's in there. K. We did our cluster. Nt, nt. After a vowel, I'm going to hear that T explode. And then I've got another N after that. So it's in there. We did our cluster. After a vowel, I'm going to hear that T explode. And then I've got another N. Y goes down. U. Continue, continue, continue. The 321st most important word in English. So get that one right. Da da da. Continue, continue, continue. Right? These are highly important words. I only focus on the most important words. That's going to make you the most effective, right? Because the more you learn the high frequency words, well, the more of your speech is going to sound better already and more clear. And as a result, guess what? You feel more confident. So, okay, next one, number 336. We've got C-E-N-T-E-R. That's the spelling, anyways. And if I look at that N-T, it's in the middle again. We got a vowel after it as well, so we're going to keep following that same pattern. Two syllables. First one is stressed, so it's da-da, right? I've got another vowel here. Look, I'm spelling it both with letter E, but they're different sounds. So this as in bed or head. My tongue is down in the bottom. My jaw is pretty open. Then I have that schwa again. As in bed. So my tongue goes in the middle. My jaw closes up. My jaw is pretty open. Then I have that center, center, center. We haven't talked about an S yet. An S, guess what, is also on the alveolar ridge. So here it is over here, and it's on the bump, but this time it's not stopping, it's creating friction. So guess what is also on the alveolar ridge. So here it is over here, and it's on the bump, but this time it's not stopping. In the middle we said. And now we have something called a vocalic R, right? The other R we said curl the tip, but not when the R is after a vowel. When the R is after a vowel, I want to lift it and touch my sides of my tongue to my molars, these teeth in the back. So center, You can curl the tip if you want, but make sure to touch the sides of the tongue to the molars. Center. That schwa with an R, super common combination. And I just lift and touch. center in this case. Nice, nice. Look at that. We're moving right along. In fact, that was only like 5 words for today. And the reason I did that was to really go over the different kinds of T sounds you're going to get, the articulation, the exact way to say it. And the reason is that, look at these numbers on this list, right? It's because that most of the clients that I see, yeah, of course, like academic words, TOEFL words, things like that, like those are difficult. Sure, they're more scientific often. They're difficult, I should say, because they're low frequency, so I don't get the repetition I need. What's the problem? Most of the people that I see when they come to me, they're still making basic mistakes, like vocabulary that they should have learned years ago, or I should say should have learned correctly to say correctly and pronounce correctly. Right? Some words are just difficult, but some words are really common and really difficult, and yet people have been saying them wrong for years. So what I did was I developed a program to say, first of all, what are the most important words in English, and how can we systematically go through these so that anybody can just open their email and just fix any mistakes, right, and become more aware and say, oh my God, I've been saying it wrong this whole time, right? How many times do you say this word and you go, this word, and you say like, not right now, no. But why wouldn't you just stop, fix it, figure it out, and then always say it forever correctly? So that's been my goal. As all this year I've been making a wonderful program where you can just open your email every day and get like a 2-minute video. And we're going to start at the most important words at the top, and then we're going to just go day by day, right? And that's why they have these numbers, is we go from number 1 to number 365. So it's a year-long training to fix all those words. And once you get into that habit, you start noticing things and you transfer those skills to all the other words as well. So super, super effective training that I've got now. And you'll always know because you were just never taught, right? Like we weren't taught these things. Not even native speakers. We took spelling tests and things during that time. So if you want a really quick, really effective way to continue what we've built off of today we just did the NT sound, where it's at the beginning and the middle of the word. And I'm going to continue going live to help people out if they have any questions. And you can watch these videos later, of course, and there's going to be a whole series of those words. But if you want them in order day by day, then it's like the cheapest way that you can do something for yourself and just fix all those old mistakes. And that's called the 365 Accent Training Bundle. Why? Because it's the 365 most important words that you're going to need. And I thought, well, why stop there? Right, we're going to make the program better and better. And right now, there's already 2 bonuses that as soon as you sign up, you're going to get every Monday a monologue, and every Tuesday a tongue twister, right, to continue working on that. Of course, you don't have to open every email all the time, but you might say, oh yeah, it's Monday. Let me take now a few minutes and just practice this monologue. Why would I choose monologues? Because it's the prosody, it's the music, right? It's the intonation, it's the rhythm. And every week, don't worry, I'm going to tell you exactly what to focus on. I'll say, hey, we're working on connected speech. Pay attention to connected speech, or whatever the topic happens to be. It changes every month. Same with tongue twisters. We say, okay, this month we're working on, I don't know, R's, the 2 different kinds of R's. And so I'm going to tell you that in the video. I'm going to tell you exactly what to focus on. So you'll get the word of the day for a year. And every week you're going to get a monologue and a tongue twister. And I'm working on other things to add as well. So depending on when you see this video, you might already have some bonuses. So for now, I would say just keep working on these lists that we've already got. You know, keep working on these high frequency words and go back and see those other videos if you get a chance, because then you're already knocking out quite a few of those. So guys, thank you so much for coming today, and I will see you soon. Thanks a lot. See ya. Bye everybody.